voice. And don't be afraid to speak up and use that voice. We were given a voice for a reason, to be the caretakers and the stewards. We are put on earth for this reason. How's the salmon supposed to tell you that it's dying? Or a whale supposed to tell you that it's going extinct? We have to use that voice for a reason. And speak up about what we're passionate about. Because the corporations and the companies that are mining and drilling and abusing the land that we call our home, they won't be here forever, and they'll have to hand down the land that they've destroyed to the many generations to come. And the question is, what will they give the earth? What will they give us? So, we actually have a chance to change the world that we will be living in. So let's not let that chance slip by. Every one of you in this room has a gift. Share it. Thank you.
And we'd all like to thank you, Takaya, for raising your voice. No, we're going to do it later. We're doing it later. Coming later. So I'd like to introduce once again the next speaker is Leah George Wilson, who's the former chief of the Tseil'Waututh Nation, and she will talk about a little bit about how the Kinder Morgan spill that happened in Burnaby had her nation take action. Thank you.
I don't think we have enough extension cords. No, I'm just kidding. Once again, we'd like to say thank you. We're very happy and privileged to be here today. We enjoyed listening to Takaya's good words and her lovely, lovely voice. And if I was my sister, I'd sing for you, but I'm not, so I will just give a presentation. And we can do it to stop the screen because we're not getting our projector going. So, if you didn't know, Tseil'Waututh Nation, our Indian Reserve, is located on the north shore of Burrard Inlet. Tseil'Waututh in our language means people of the inlet. We're part of the Coast Salish culture area, which is really quite extensive. In fact, Tseil'Waututh First Nation is part of the Coast Salish, so while we don't share the same language, we share a lot of similarities in our culture, in our ceremony, in our historic tool of technology, as well as all Coast Salish people lived in cedar plank, shed-style long houses alongside a body of water, and our body of water is Burrard Inlet. And our people have lived in and along Burrard Inlet since time out of mind. Our numbers were up to 10,000 prior to the plagues that came along and decimated our population. We have been, just like what Takaya was saying earlier, that Creator placed us here. Creator placed us here on our territory to take care of the land and water. We're actually stewards in our way, in our Tseil'Waututh, in our law. It's our responsibility, it's our obligation, it's what we do, it's who we are, it's our sacred trust. And a while ago, an elder gave me a word in his language that meant sacred trust, and it's shahalmas. And I use that word today because it just captures everything I need it to say. It's our sacred trust. Ding. Oh, here we go. You probably can't see it in the back, so we'll just keep talking. So there's an interconnectedness between the health of our culture and the health of the environment. Like when we heard from Michelle earlier about what happened to them when the spill occurred in the Kalamazoo. We are healthy when our rivers, streams, beaches, and forests are healthy, and we were able to see from her presentation how unhealthy we can be when catastrophic things happen to our land and to our water. We're healthy when our communities are healthy. The Tsleil-Waututh Nation made a decision there. I don't know how familiar you are with the legacy of all of the horrific things that have happened to First Nations people. That could be a whole nother, well, that is a whole nother movement, and that's a whole nother lecture, that's a whole nother evening. But we can say that Tsleil-Waututh made a decision in the early 1990s that we weren't going to be paralyzed by fear or bitterness, that we wanted to put our Tsleil-Waututh face back on the territory. We didn't want to be invisible in our own land. We wanted people to know who we are. And we wanted to see the environment restored to the way that it had been. And we knew that to do all of this, to fulfill our shahalmas, our sacred trust, we need to find creative means and tools to move forward into the future, to make those changes. So we were doing all of that from like 1995 up until, well, we still do that work, but in 2007, a spill occurred. Our community witnessed firsthand the environmental impacts of a Kinder Morgan oil spill in Burnaby Inlet, when 1,500 barrels of oil spilled into Burnaby Inlet and adjacent areas. We witnessed, as did all of you, because while the film crews were right there when it was happening, and it was on the radio, and people who were just coming out of their homes on the North Shore could smell the oil in the air. So we knew something terrible had happened, and we knew that there wasn't the emergency preparedness that there was supposed to be, and there wasn't an environmental management system in place to reduce the impact to the environment. And the monitoring of the long-term effects of the spill continue today. So the spill occurred on July 24th, 2007, approximately at 12 noon. A transfer pipe was breached by a road construction crew. And I have to tell you this morning I was in a big downtown hotel. We were at Fairmont Waterfront. It's a beautiful hotel. And we were there to hear about oil. But we weren't there to hear about oil in terms of how we're hearing about it this evening, in terms of oil spills and the impact and the devastation and all of the terrible things that are the legacy of oil spills in our environment. It was all about business, and I must say, it's just totally polar opposite to what we're doing here this evening, and you are a much better looking crowd, you're much nicer, and it feels, the energy in here feels pretty good. It was weird. It was just so different, because when they talked about this, they made a point, because it was the president, Ian Anderson from Kinder Morgan, who was actually one of the keynote speakers. So he was saying, and the one who introduced him made a point to say that it wasn't